Hello and welcome to West Fox. It is me and my brother today, and we're discussing Star Trek Picard. We decided to do a video one today to give a little more interaction and kind of convey more thoughts facially, visually, and to show kind of where we are in the video. Hope to do more of this kind of format as we continue to get better and better at doing this process, and as we get better at just doing this, all of this, critique, notes, and make it a better show for people to enjoy. So today it is me and my brother Christopher. So he and myself have both watched Star Trek Picard, episode 1, Remembrance. I just finished watching it about an hour ago. He watched it yesterday. We have our notes and our thoughts. I'll start with mine, I think, just because not to skew it as much as mine are fresher. I'll say that I actually didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to. There was some good things in it, and there were some really bad story elements to it. I think there's a lot of exposition that was unnecessary, or could have been handled better. And then there was a lot of just like, it's kind of slow episode, actually, to be honest. Kind of slow, which is kind of okay to building up. It was great seeing Patrick Stewart back. Definitely a lot of the notes that he brought up that we talked about in our previous video was brought up, essentially, bringing essentially 2020 politics into Starfleet. You could definitely feel those vibes coming through. I felt like you definitely sense those elements in some of the dialogue choices. Going from beginning in, we'll dig into that, but that's kind of my opening, thinking, okay, it's not as bad as I was worried, though it wasn't amazing. It was great seeing, Picard back. I have my Earl Grey tea here myself, though not decaf. But there were some elements in it that really will dig into the story, things that kind of bugged me. And there were some just little choices visually and story beat wise. I was like, oh, those actually have really large implications and lack of thought into the story building elements of it. So that's my initial thought. Christopher, sorry. Go ahead and say your initial one. So used to having my other brother here, so.
All right. Well, with that being said, I do want to say a happy birthday to our brother who's not here at the moment.
Yes, he has recently had a birthday.
And I'm going to shamelessly plug one other thing, and a happy anniversary to my girlfriend and I. So thank you. Happy anniversary. But now on to other things on there. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you, actually, Joel. I came in coming with a little bit harsher thought than in the end the episode did give me. And admittedly, in the space of kind of the politics, yes, it was in there. It wasn't actually as upfront as I actually thought it was, or not at least to the point of, really right off the bat. There, maybe a little bit, but I think I'm actually seeing it more from the fandom, already trying to push it to be that when the episode really didn't go that far into it. Because I'm already seeing people already talking about it. And we'll get into it, but they're already talking about the sense of we know Starfleet's bad. And I'm going, okay, I understand that was kind of the theme that was talked about and Patrick Stewart has said, but I didn't quite get that feeling from this episode.
That reporter seemed like there was someone, the villain character, the reporter lady seemed to be the most aggressive, and I don't think she was even Starfleet. She seemed more civilian, I would say. Yeah,
just civilian reporter trying to get some information. And I will say, on that vein, I do appreciate the least, again, like you're saying, I do appreciate the way that they at least handled the fact that Picard did leave Starfleet in a way that's, I'm glad that they had him leave saying, you know what, I didn't agree with the decision, so I left Starfleet, and and it's not like this, I had some blah, 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 blah kind of thing, or I had some fight, or there was some, it was a okay, you guys left on not agreeing, but you left on agreeable terms, at least the way that they did this episode.
I would agree. It didn't have the quite nihilistic stank of things like The Last Jedi, of his character. He kind of going from the beginning of the movie. I got the screenshot here. Actually, I thought the vineyard was pretty. I think some cinematography overall was pretty solid. Editing, I would say, is medium. I think there were some editing choices throughout that I was like, you're kind of pushing it. But overall, I thought it was pretty decent. I did love the opening scene. Overall, it's the implications of it that I was, but with him and Data having the card game, that was pretty solid. If the show had continued in that level of thoughtfulness, I think that it would be actually a winner. I love this thing when he's like, I just don't want the game to end. That was a brilliant line. You know, Patrick Stewart nailing it. You know, the reason we love him, you know,
Yes.
he nailed it. And it didn't come from that nihilistic, to me, it came from an older guy knowing that he is getting older, you know, and so I'm okay with that part of his character. And I think that, to me, was cool. So we go, here's the opening here. So we kind of have our opening with, you know, the card game, which I think was solid. It looked pretty good, pretty well shot overall. Data does look a little chunky here. I think he actually looks quite a lot better later on in the scene where he's in the vineyard.
He does. It was kind of weird because he does look a lot.
So I wonder if one was shot earlier or a reshoot and he lost weight. I thought Brent Spiner actually did a good job reprising his role. I'm sad that they have pretty much, in this version of canon, made him completely dead. I think in some versions B4 actually
become Data. Actually took on everything.
I think he actually became a captain at one time. So I think it's too bad that wasn't allowed to continue. I think the whole synthetic thing is one we'll talk about. I think that's a downhill.
Now, to that one thing I did want to say on that scene, and I was curious that you felt for this opening scene. Why did they go to the Enterprise D? Why are they in the Enterprise D? Because here's my thing. Too. Here's why I say I understand that's kind of the known one, but at the same point, then you have Data in the later series outfits, which is only Enterprise E stuff. And it's like, I know that's like kind of being a little bit nitpicky, but at the same time, it's like, okay, wait a minute. He's wearing the Nemesis type, you know, uniform, or all the Enterprise E ones. And then you're shooting back to the Enterprise D. And there's a part of me that almost makes it wonder. It's like, that was kind of their way of kind of going, remember, this is kind of that TNG are still going from it.
Yeah, they can go a lot of levels. I could say that, you know, on a more cynical, Remember Berries level, it's like remember TNG, remember this one. But I would say if Picard was to probably consider one of his places more home with Data, it would be the D. Again, I love the E. I think it was a great, beautiful ship, and I don't know how long it was in service with them. But Picard, you know, Data did die on that ship, or during those missions.
He died on the E.
On the E, yeah. I don't think did he die on the EE? Or was on the alien ship? I can't remember. Nemesis was so. I remember watching Nemesis in the
actually,
theaters.
he technically dies on the Romulan ship.
Okay, it's been so long since I've seen that. To be honest,
because he shoots the phaser at the thingy, and then as he transports Picard.
That did cross my mind, but I felt that there's enough like plausible psychological reason, especially since it's in his brain, to use it. There was a side of me that goes,
that's almost what made me like right at the beginning. I thought it was. Because I kind of like had a moment like, are we going to holodeck? Because of seeing the Enterprise D. So admittedly, that's where one that got me off. Because I was kind of like, are we on a holodeck? Is this because it's like, okay, I know the D's gone. You know, and so it kind of made me start already asking these random questions instead of like already paying attention. Because I was like, wait, you're on the Enterprise D. The Enterprise D shouldn't be here unless they rebuilt the Enterprise D. So I was like, started off like asking questions instead of going, okay, what's the story?
And the first thing that I think that the rumor hit on was the destruction of Mars, Utopia Planitia, at the end of that part, which I was like already kind of knowing some of the rumors. I was like, oh no, it's true, they did that, and so I'm like a little bit sad about that. You know, the opening. So we'll go to the next part. The opening. You know, this was fine. I mean, this scene. Well, I thought there was the whole. I guess it wasn't the Star Trek thing. This opening scene here with now we'll find out. Obviously, we find out she's an android girl.
She's a synthetic,
which I think is an interesting choice of framing on it. You know, the way they killed the boyfriend's fine. I've heard people critique that. I don't really care about that. My only thing is they took so long to knock her out. Like I feel like they could just knocked her out and scanned her brain and went, oh, cool, moving on. like the fact they lost her was stupid. This opening is really pretty, but so not Star Trek.
The title screen.
Yeah, the opening here is so not Star Trek.
It was like.
I mean, there were some pretty elements I could have seen here and there, but I was pretty. It was like I said, pretty, but not in the right context for the show. I thought. I'm like, where's the stars for the Star Trek? I feel like we're not going to get a lot of stars for some reason.
I kind of have to agree.
I did love later on here. Oh, and the music too. I kind of liked the music for the opening, and I kind of didn't feel it fit. There was a level Lord of the Rings vibe to it, kind of hobbity. Like little my brain was like, why is there like a Hobbit remix of the Star Trek elements? And it was kind of like a retuned version of it.
Yeah, because it's like because I think it ends on a little bit of like the TNG kind of. It gives a little bit of that sound, but it's like it's kind of lost in there. And admittedly, it's like, I mean, the title screens for Star Trek have always been kind of a high point of really every series, other than, I wouldn't know about Discovery, haven't watched it, don't care to, other than Enterprise. Enterprise was that first one where you're kind of like, this is kind of a, because when it was like that Journey song that they played for that, when you're like, not the band Journey, but it was like that random song that they were playing for it, and I kind of was in that same vein. I'm like, where's the Star Trek theme? Like, it's not always the same theme, obviously, but it's like, it didn't make me feel like Star Trek theme.
Right. I did like his dog was
number one.
Number one. I thought that was cute. I think
that is
Riker
a cute
knew.
way of kind of like, keeping that friendship there in a different way. I was like, okay, that was
clever.
That was that.
Whoever's idea that was, good job. I don't know who it was, but whoever it was.
You did right.
It's a good idea. Good they said that Earl Grey having a decaf was nice because he's getting older. People don't always want decaf. The interview scene. So, that was a interesting exposition dump choice, which is a giant dump of this is what happened in the last 20 years, and this is where, to me, choices from almost 10 years ago start having repercussions in the current space. The choice of destroying planets constantly. We're through a series on JJ's planet destruction obsession. He's destroyed 2 planets in Star Trek. He's destroyed 6 in Star Wars, at least.
Yeah, I think he's destroyed 6 on Force Awakens. So.
Yeah, so he likes to destroy planets. So I'm sure when we get the DC Universe one, he'll probably be like, "No, it's my choice to destroy Krypton."
Well, when he gets to DC, somehow he'll blow up Earth, and then they'll be at an alternate Earth.
Yeah, they'll find a way.
Alternate Earth,
because he loves destroying planets, and so you end up with this timeline that doesn't really make sense right now to me, where the Federation knows for almost 120, 130. I don't even know. At least probably 100 years, right? Because Kirk was
Kirk was about 80. Well, end of his thing, because I think it's Generations when Kirk dies on the B. I think it shoots 89 years. They say forward.
Yeah, so it's say that almost, let's just say, give or take a little bit.
From the beginning of Kirk's time, about 100 years.
Yeah, give or take some time. So 100 years, the Federation has known that Romulus is going to blow up, and I get the relations between the planets were not good during these times. But
come on.
But I feel like them not been like, hey guys, so like your planet's gonna blow up here, and we have evidence for it. Like there's scanning.
I guess that brings into question to me, in general, because I've been seeing this from a different view, in some senses. Is this still in this timeline now? Does that portion of the Kelvin timeline before, is that still a part of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is Kelvin. This is Kelvin timeline.
This is Kelvin timeline.
Yes, it is.
So this is not original time.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that.
Okay, well, okay,
and someone can correct me in the future in the comments, but from what I've read and been told in interviews and seen on stuff, it is Kelvin timeline based. So this is technically the Picard from the Kelvin timeline. So Vulcan's been destroyed, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, and then now Romulus is blowing up.
Okay, so that's frustrating to me, because I was gonna say one of the big things that I was gonna try to come into this show. I already knew it was kind of feeling more on that side, but admittedly, and this might frustrate anyone watching. But guess what? In my view, looking at Picard, here's what I was thinking was canon: TOS, TNG, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. And clearly now you're saying that's not the because they're clearly bringing in the Discovery.
Yeah,
and I can't continuation timeline, and to me it's like that's a bad footing to start on, I guess, because you're already starting in a mixed. You're starting now in a mixed universe because it's like, are you
I don't know who has
randomly
the rights.
pull from the things that want you to be Kelvin, and then pull from the things that are TNG where you need it? It's like, how can you do that? My whole thought was Picard was then going back to at least the TNG universe and the original universe without those changes.
And that's where I'd say that the trickiness of that is I did not know all the reasons behind these choices in the sense. I've heard licensing stuff. I've heard different rights stuff. I've heard, there's so many different reasons I've heard. I don't know what the truth is. All I know is, from what I know, this is Kelvin timeline. So, let's see the interview. I'm glad he stood up and had a nice little wrap up monologue of like kind of the middle finger to the reporter at the end there, just because it was pretty aggressive from the point that.
Well, and I will say, because like I said, altogether I did enjoy that scene, even though like you're having his moment of him going like, well, this is why I disagree with the Federation and why I left. I at least enjoyed that scene because I was like, you know what, I understand why.
Well,
and it did at least feel in the vein of Picard. It did still, because there's been a few times where Picard is kind of, and let's just be honest, in general. There's been captains before, and he kind of makes his comment like, well, it's more like a Kirk time frame. And you're like, yeah, it's like, how many times did Kirk kind of go, I don't agree with you, Federation. I don't agree with what you're saying. And I'll say it. And it's like, I don't have a problem with that at all. And I did enjoy the way they did it. Like, I just didn't think it was right, and I am going to walk away. Fine. That would be the right way to do something if you were.
Well, and I think the question comes into, on that part, falls a little bit into... It wasn't so they were building a 10,000 ship fleet, which I think is silly. Again, that goes back to...
It was transports.
It was transports, but I still think that number's silly. I think there's better ways to logistically, do it. Like the fact the fact that there was 10,000 ships on the planet at the one time, there should have only been, however many were being built at the moment. They're building, 1,000 at a time type thing. I don't...
Right.
I would say that, like we talked about, maybe, I don't know if we talked about in the last video or just you and me talking or Dad talking.
I think it was just us talking on the phone.
That it was, to build 10,000 ships is a massive undertaking for Starfleet. I don't think there's ever been that many ships, even these like transport style ones. So that's weird. And then it falls into, so the reason Starfleet chose not to, because I think at the end of, I thought Nemesis, I thought the Romulan and Federation relations
kind of growing together.
Yeah,
reaching some kind of compromise at that point. I mean, you kind of ended it with Picard kind of becoming now like a possible ambassador between the two.
Yeah,
is where you kind of ended Nemesis.
That's what I thought.
An honest, good connection between the two. So it's kind of interesting that now it's like they kind of almost in some senses continued it in the sense that Picard kind of tries to help, but I'm not even sure. I'm still not even sure what the reason is why they didn't help all of them or why part of the Romulans are not, because it's like they kind of gave some line, but I didn't understand.
I feel like there's two separate events happening. We have on one side we have this event of supernova, right. And then we have this other event over here of the synthetics revolting or destroying this, and it doesn't even sound like a revolt. It sounds more like a programmed destruction of a armada to save Romulus. To me, I wasn't sure on what who they killed after, like if the synthetics after they destroyed, Mars's surface. It sounds like they totally wipe out Mars. I wasn't sure if that meant that like after that they started attacking other things. Like I said, they just kind of they said
they just said hey they attack Mars and it's still burning.
Yeah, there's a lot of little exposition things that I'm like, ooh, these have major implications. That last 25 years, we haven't like figured this situation out. So it's kind of this whole, like I said, the Federation's isolationist. You're like, you realize like there's a ton of alien races inside the Federation. Like the Federation is an entire quadrant,
conglomeration of people,
entire quadrant of the galaxy, and the only other major powers were the Klingons and the Romulans were the only other like outside that. And really,
speaking of Klingons, that's why I'm drinking my Ractigino. I don't do tea.
And from what I know, though, like, I don't know in canon, and like I said, this is where you start digging to like deep lore that I don't really know. I don't know if the Romulans had a bunch of other races inside of their territories, or if they pretty much were a single race area. So like, like their quadrant, like let's say they're, 1,000 parsecs or whatever of space. If they were like, okay, there's Romulans and then 30 other races, I think they were only Romulans. I think kind of Klingons are the same way as far as I know. I could be wrong, but I don't think they've ever dug into it.
They've never dug into it. I mean, the first time you actually even hear of a different race in Romulan space is Nemesis, when they're like, oh, there's also the Remans. And you go,
but when those were like, those were just cousins of them. They were like, oh, these are just people we don't like pretty much that we stuck on a planet. Like they're all Australians.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like the first time you even hear about a different race, the first time you ever hear about a different race within Romulans is then the Remans. And then you're like, okay, but I've never heard of anybody else being in their territory. Now that said, again, I do know that I guess that Countdown comic does mention that on one of the planets that the Romulans are on, there is another race of people there that are less
sophisticated,
okay. And that's why they didn't want to save them, I guess, quote unquote. But that's the comic book, and I'm not going to read the comic book to figure it all out.
I'm not a huge fan of that either. So anyway, let's see what else we got next. Okay, so we got this giant clunky interview. Again, I did think everything was pretty well shot overall. Him having like these Romulan people helping him out, I think is interesting. That goes somewhere deeper.
Again, it's character development. That's because of the comic books that you're not going to then see on the screen. Out of all the exposition, they're not going to show that stuff.
Yeah, and I can see like some level of, like I said, long-term stuff. I don't need everything explained to me in the first episode. And
but
so
I like a little bit more than was.
I mean, at least there's aliens in the shots with them, to be honest. And so, I mean, at least there's some aliens. Let's see. Oh yeah, this whole thing. Like I said, a pretty aggressive interview against him. Getting pretty well shot. I don't know what her goal was though either. I didn't really come across what her
point was.
I didn't know what her point was, because it seems like he's retired, so he's not like he's pushing for anything political. So I wasn't sure like what her "I gotcha" question is, right? Like it just seemed like she was
felt
trying
more
to,
like she asked. It felt more like she asked that "I gotcha" question so you could answer for the audience.
Yeah,
more than for it being kind of a organic part of the story growth.
Yeah, and I thought his answers were okay. It takes me back to some of the positions where like what's the one? There's one episode where Drumhead, I think it is, in TNG, Drumhead or something about it. It's like when there's a trial happening on the Enterprise, and there's kind of like that rogue lieutenant who's like trying to find a traitor inside of the thing.
Oh yeah.
And Picard has like a really good, just like hammer home speech, and this wasn't as good as that one. And I was hoping to see a little more of that in it during happening. My mind went back to, like I said, I think it's Drumhead or something like that. Went back to that episode, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind a little more of that in this episode. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm kind of okay. Like I said, we'll see where they go with his character over the show. Because he is older, there is a level of like, you're not as quick when you're older, right? He is like 70 or something like that. He wasn't, so I mean, there's a level that I do excuse that he's not going to be like tack sharp that he was at the thing. So, we'll see where that goes. So yeah, interview, and then
meeting
yeah, and
Data's daughter.
Yeah, and both me and Krista thought that her acting's off in this. There's something off with her acting. She's overacting. There's just something off about her character.
She doesn't feel comfortable in the acting, or at least like she doesn't feel as comfortable around the rest of the other.
I don't know what it is, but she pulled me out of the show probably more than anything else. There's two things that pulled me out of the show that like stuck out to me as like, ooh. And they're both involving her. So pretty much just her in general, but also the scene when she does a superhero fly jump was bad.
Oh yeah, you mean up the staircase?
Yeah, because she's still human. If she just had, like, from what we know, she has a android brain, but her whole body is human still. Right. So that's not how human bodies work. It's kind of like when you have a character, you forgive it because of things, but it's kind of like when you have a character who has a metal arm. They're like, yes, and then they'll like punch something and like be able to break walls and then be able to take a hit with that arm. But we accept it in the superhero world because it's like, oh, okay, it's superhero world. But the reality is that if you bolt an arm onto you that's metal and you hit something with it, it's just going to break your spine eventually. Like, something hits you, you can't put
right. It's
like,
still going to transfer that energy somewhere into your body that's going to affect you.
Yeah, so you have to have like antimanium, like like Wolverine type thing, where your entire they covered his entire bone structure.
Yeah, your whole
with something.
skeleton is actually strengthened.
Yeah, so like that part is just so yeah, she's the whole Data daughter thing is kind of the way to bring him back. I think they just should have not killed him, to be honest, and made him like B4 and just brought him back somehow. And there's better ways to do it.
Or just the simplest fact, you could have just said, you know what, it's been 30 years. We actually figured out the technology and we've made it. Because it's like I understand that's like Data's
I think she's like
creator died and you never passed along the information, yada yada yada. And that's always been the thing. But it's like, are you telling me 30 years later we still haven't been able to find out about? Well, but they give you that reason why they haven't figured out positronic nets, because of the synthetic attack, and then you can't keep going.
Yeah, that
so
conversation.
They gave themselves their own little.
We'll get to that conversation. We'll get to that conversation. But yeah, I mean, even look at the shot of him. Picard just looks like Picard, and she just has this like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Anyway.
Yeah, well, and like I said, one big thing I will say across the board, Patrick Stewart's acting in this, A+, wonderful.
Agreed.
I enjoyed seeing him. I always enjoy seeing him act. He's just a great actor.
He is. Solid work coming back in here. And going through, he wakes up, has the little dream with Data. I thought Data looked actually really good here.
In the vineyard, he looks a lot better than that first scene.
I think he looks like, so yeah, there's that screenshot up right now. I'm at, just on your timeline, I'm at 2302.
Perfect.
On the video clip. I think he looks pretty good. And he sounded pretty good. So considering he's quite a lot older, the actor, I think they, it really, like I said, it's one of those ones where it's too bad he wasn't in the flesh somehow, in a way that they could have brought him. I think there's, again, time travel, all these things. Like, oh, it was actually B4 that did it or something. Like, if you're going to retcon something, retcon it in a cool way. Don't do like, oh, we cloned his one cell or something.
I mean, speaking of a retcon in that reference, I was actually surprised how much then they said, oh, no, actually, B4 wasn't able to take in everything. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, okay, I can kind of understand it because he was an inferior model, but at the same time, it's like, you guys set up at the end of Nemesis that he was understanding those things, then you just come back and you go, just kidding. It didn't work. He was not good enough. He lost everything, and we just put him in a trunk.
And that definitely feels like a little bit, like I said, that ugly. The ugly part of the writing here, where it's just like things that are like,
Now, I got a question for you.
This did look pretty. They did some decent CGI. I have been here. It's hilarious, though, when they have the, right here. I know, this is shot in Anaheim, and I've literally walked through this area. This is in the convention center down there. It was just funny when I see that shot.
Oh, is this like the Starfleet?
Yeah, I live down there. So, yeah, go ahead.
Goes into the... I was curious because I have heard these rumblings, and I do have to wonder, because technically, there is still one android that is alive, I think, that's Data and at the same level as Data, and that's is it Lore? Do you remember Lore his brother from TNG?
Lore, I think, was his evil brother, or it like says his non moral brother.
I agree. I'm curious if they're going to try to bring him in with the synthetics. I'm wondering if there was some touch of him because of the synthetics.
It's a good theory. We'll dig into that more as we said, where we get our predictions that we had. So far, I don't think we've had any too wrong. I'll have to go through the final video, but as we get through,
there wasn't as much nostalgia as you and Philip were agreeing with. I think they're a little bit more on my side of not too much.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, I think the most nostalgia was when he goes into his museum or all of his stuff. And I mean, it's like, and admittedly, I did enjoy that because it was like, that was a good moment of nostalgia.
That's what I'm right now on the timeline. So that's at 24, 19. Yeah, that was okay. Finding the painting. That was kind of a cool effect.
It was a good moment of like, okay, I remember this, and like, but I'd say that was probably the most nostalgia, quote unquote.
He was a painting. There was some good city stuff here. I thought the conversation. So I'm at 2704. I thought the conversation with her mom was weird. So I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be that she wasn't talking to her mom, or that her mom is also an android synthetic thing.
Well, it almost made it sound like behind her, if you can't see behind her in that hologram, that there's two of those Romulan guys standing behind her and saying, "Tell her to say this." That's what it came off like as in the end. That's kind of clearly she was being watched over and told to call, or like when she called, like, say,
and we live in a world where there's things called, holograms that can literally replicate someone's look like that. So
yeah,
I had a feeling it's probably a hologram that was designed to look like her mom. Again, I don't really understand. They threw a little technobabble around. They're like, oh, she's cloaking. She's hiding. They're like, we didn't see her on any of the feeds. And she's like, we're cloaking. We're like, so she's cloaking to cameras only? Like, wait, what? So there's a little bit of like weird technobabble. And she's like, oh, she was able to log into the system because reasons. She's like, oh, I found you, Picard. And you're like, oh, okay.
Like, oh, to find my stuff, you would have to have security clearance.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about that anymore.
That scene was pretty, that one was around 29 minutes, was pretty like, it kind of felt grindy. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's keep going.
I will say, I'm not saying I disagree with the aesthetic. It is interesting how they've changed the clothing. For being 30 years from where you've seen the clothing, it almost seems like it's regressed.
Yeah,
they're clothing for the world, but I don't mind that because it's like, admittedly, some of the new future stuff, it always looks ridiculous with the uniform, you know, the unisex leotard look. Like, not even like saying Starfleet uniform stuff, but it's like, oh, the rest of the world's like, oh yeah, we just wear a tunic, and you're like,
yeah, okay, sci-fi is always tricky with that because they're trying to be inside of our normal timeline of like real Earth and not like a like fake sci-fi where it's like, oh, we'll give them like shiny glasses that wrap around the head or something, like chrome glasses.
Yeah. Here's the thing, I would have enjoyed it. My only problem is it does again remind me more of like Star Trek reboot look again from then 80, 20, 100 years ago, and they're still looking the same than 100 years later, which is my only like, okay, like I said, it's a nitpick. I do enjoy the look of it, but it is funny because it does look more like, again, it's more like the Kelvin timeline stuff again, more than a continuation. But as you said, it's clearly not a continuation of TNG, so, you know, what are we doing?
Yeah. So, the next scene is the one on top of the roof, which is probably the worst scene of the episode, I think.
Well, at this part, it stopped because, I mean, it really, I was kind of sitting there the whole time going, is this Star Trek? I'm not really feeling the Star Trek. It got to that scene, and I went, well, I don't know what I'm watching here. I'm not watching Star Trek anymore. I'm watching a sci-fi thriller. Like,
my problem is either they can't transport her off, right? So they're like, oh, maybe she's cloaking her presence somehow. So someone programmed some kind of cloaking into her. Again, the problem there is, so is she actually more than just a cybernetic brain? Like, in my brain, with what she is she's full in flesh and blood, and then there's like a little like neuro implant in her brain that's probably the size of like a walnut. The Data's core was, or like a peach inside of her brain that runs her like other half of her or something. Again, it's that weird thing. Is like, so she has a twin that's a clone. So, but she was programmed to look just like Data's drawing. So she's completely artificially created through genetics and thing. So what she is interesting. That goes to the like upcoming Doctor thing here, where they answer some stuff. But this scene though, the problem with this scene was these guys are shooting at her for almost like 50 meters away, and they can't hit her. And then the first group, you're like, oh, okay, maybe they, you know, whatever. For the second group, and so here at 3250 is where you want to go. The second group, she's running at this guy, and he has a sniper rifle, and he can't hit her running at normal speed.
No, it's so like, and she's running in a straight line. She's not even serpentine,
and he's just
like,
missing her.
Nothing.
It was just a weird shot, and then she does that whole flying jump thing here. Let's see. I'm gonna get to it so I can just play it for people. Not play it, but okay. Wait, where is it? Ready? Oh, here we go. It's that, like I said, 3249. Here we go. Ready? And like this terrible CGI, and she's like, she jumps from, let's see. So she's at least, that's probably 20 feet, 20, 40, 60. Oh, it's like a 200-foot jump. Yeah, look, is he going from my frame?
Oh yeah, she's going almost like a football field, man.
Yeah,
like,
that's like 100 meters and up too. Like that's a 100-meter jump, and then she's up there, and they cut to Picard's reaction stuff. Where, you know, that's fair. And he's like, oh my god. At least she's not too bad of a fighter, choreography. You know, the editing hides a lot, but it's definitely not Star Wars level bad. You know, it is a Star Trek TV show, so I do accept budgets a little more on this kind of stuff. So I'm a little, you know, across the board, I'm gonna be more forgiving on the stuff because the TV show versus, you know, a $250 million movie, $300 million movie, when we're like, oh my god, how do they not train these people to have a, you know, hold a sword, you know, a lightsaber? On this, the hand-to-hand is fine. It's more the situational part about it that I struggle with. But like I said, if you're going to have a character with a sniper rifle 100 meters away and can't hit a character running at them, you're like, they're not shooting like BBs. They're shooting like lasers. And we see the laser trans, but like, that's so annoying.
Now that leads into though that whole scene, because that I'd say that scene is the weakest scene out of the whole show. It's supposed to be then like the dramatic, climactic scene, because it leads into the worst part. Because then after that, you get that horrible Romulan spitting acid, like Deadpool.
Yeah,
I mean, like when that happened, all I can think about was like Sugar Bear moment from Deadpool 2 when he's like, "All right, Sugar Bear, save the guy," and like he gets like spit on him, and he's like, "Oh no," and he's like, "Oh man, you both died." Because it was like, what are you? Because at first I'm just sitting there going, what if Romulan spit acid? I'm guessing it's kind of like a cyanide pill.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
What I was going for.
If it's anything more than, I have it 3233 or 3332 time code, where she has kind of the boiling her. So essentially she get the Romulan gets hit, blood splatters or spits out blood. I think it's more he got wounded, spitting out blood, injury, and that essentially turns into a highly corrosive acid that kills her.
So is that what you're thinking? You're thinking that Romulan blood is corrosive, or are you thinking that it was?
I would compare it. My guess would be, if they make Romulan blood corrosive, that's stupid, and I hate that a ton. My guess is these are assassins of some dark order. What was the Romulans' order? Tal Shiar? Tal Shiar?
Yes, that was the. Yeah.
I could see them being like a Tal Shiar, and they're designed that if they're
captured, they can
captured, their organs get punctured, they're able to use themselves essentially as a biological weapon. We saw something in Voyager similar, where that one the Kazon guy gets on the ship and he blows himself up by putting stuff in his blood.
Because he had it under his fingernail or whatever it was. It was like
with a needle, and he plugged in himself.
Substance. Yeah.
So something like that I could see being a weapon. That's actually a pretty good weapon. Again, it's not explained. It doesn't really fit in canon. So
it was just kind of a weird moment. And it could be interesting, but like you said, they didn't explain it, and that makes me worry. Like,
if it's never used again and never explained, then it's dumb.
Yeah, then it was clearly a plot device to get you forward.
Yeah, they kill her. There's better ways to do that. They'd be like, oh, auto-destruct. So for me on that one, it falls into the, okay, we'll see where this goes long term. Again, that's kind of one of those ones, but he said the overall scene is weak. They wanted to kill her, and they could. They should have just killed her. They should have just sniped her head off. See, that's the problem, is they wanted to have this silly, like, action scene with her and her jump 300 feet, and they should have just had her freaking be sniped, because that's the next scene with Picard, when he's like, I should have done something more, and you're like, dude, Picard, what would you have done?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well,
like, we know you
especially since that dialogue does not work, especially, well, there's the two things I got to say for that scene altogether. Like, I've been trying to look at that scene and see if I'm actually seeing bone, because like at first you kind of see her face,
when she's blowing up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm trying to see if you're actually seeing more of a exoskeleton under her, or if you're actually seeing bone.
No, you can't tell.
I almost have a wonder if she's part Borg. I wonder if there's some Borg technology a part of that synthesis.
There could be. No, that's definitely, considering what the end of the episode reveals. I think the idea that there's some Borg voodoo magic going on would definitely be. But you can't see anything there.
It's not good enough to really be able to see, but it does lead into my next favorite thing. This show should be over because Picard died with that explosion.
Yes, he did. I did know that in my brain too. I was like, oh, he was awfully close to that explosion to blow back.
I'm watching it right now. He flies back like 40 feet from that explosion with fire in front of him. Like, I'm sorry, you're not coming back from that.
I mean, at least it's Federation healing technology, but yes, he would not be doing well. So then we had Picard go in. Oh, he had his vision, or his
dream vision.
And then go through blah, 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 blah. And then just him talking to these guys. And then he show him at the thing. Oh, that's what it was.
The Daystrom Institute.
This doctor's reaction. Looks like she's a main character.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been so irritated by her if her first reaction wasn't a at his question.
Oh, you're talking about synthetics? Oh, wait, you're serious? You think Admiral Picard's not being serious?
Yeah, I just thought that was a bad choice. Like, it's one that's just an actor's choice. You know, someone might like that one. I felt that it didn't fit for what the situation is and what like the history of this is. He's obviously asking you kind of a question, and then her whole explanation of like, oh, the holy grail of this stuff, and I'm like, have we not heard of the Borg, which are literally that? Like
that's where I was sitting there the whole time. They're like synthetic beings that are part machine and part human. That can't happen. I'm like, the Borg. You have the Borg. You've had the Borg.
And they, I mean, I get that they didn't create the Borg, but I felt like we are not very, like in Star Trek: The Next Generation, I didn't feel like we were very far off from doing stuff, and they'd be like, oh, Data was the only one. I don't think that the Dr. Soong guide, it wasn't like Data wasn't an accident. Data was a process, a long-term process of many androids being created. It wasn't like Data was the magic one. He just happened to be the best of the, till he got, I forget if Soong died or because he was like an isolation guy. I think he still lived.
Lore kill him.
I think Lore might have killed him, to be honest. But
I think so. If I remember correctly, I think that's.
I think you're on right. Something like that. It's something along those lines. And so I definitely think that, kind of making it him like the Holy Grail thing is a little off canon wise. I get like creating a human cyborg, not cyborg, but a human android is a challenge. But I felt they dumbed down the explanation of what they meant, because I was like, oh, what are you meaning? Because technically the Borg were literally grafting human skin onto Data and he would bleed. So I'm like, they're again not very far off. I'd say like in the timeline, because she's like, oh, it's not even 1,000 years. And I'm like, I feel like in Federation technology, what we know, we're talking, I would say within the century. So I'd say, oh, well, probably 30, 40, 50 years off, even now maybe for that full thing. But
especially if you're supposed to have all the technology that Janeway brought back from the future.
True. But even not including that, we know that in the 27th century, we're full on time traveling with ease. And I think in the 32nd century, we're even like full on like space touristing time travel.
Is it the 29th century that Voyager has that guy that tried?
That was the 27th. I thought it was the 27th.
Was it 27th?
Yeah, I thought so. And then Discovery, which technically is still original canon. Prior to it, I get it breaks some canon, but they were dealing with 32nd century time travel. So we know that the time travel is pretty advanced through it. So to be like, oh yeah, we can't even create, because I mean, look at like how far off were we between the Doctor, because that was the whole Doctor arc in Voyager. One of the best characters in the show was his like sentience, right? Sentience has always been a big part of Star Trek. So I feel like that's weird. I thought the whole like, speaking back of the war, this whole sentient thing, or the war of the, being attacked by this group reminded me a lot of the Orville episode recently, about a year ago, where the android race attacks Earth and destroys a bunch of stuff. And I was like, oh, so you guys just took that same rip off that episode? I don't know if you ripped it off or what.
Way to rip off Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, I thought that was a weird choice. It's one of those choices that just personally I find it boring.
Yes.
It's not so much a awful choice. It's just a boring choice. Oh no, alien robots, because alien robots. Oh, robots attacking us. Transform. It's just one of the most overused like horror / thriller sci-fi type thing of like, I think even Discovery and this is supposed to be Discovery tied into Discovery Timeline. Did the Discovery Timeline, which I haven't watched the show to be honest, I just have no desire. But I think they had an evil android in that show too. So I mean, like that whole android being evil thing is just probably one of the most like boring.
Well, I mean,
tropes.
It's like doing to sci-fi. It is like doing zombies for horror. Oh wow, you're really thinking outside the box now. I mean, it's the easiest thing to picture. Oh, you're doing horror? Well, do zombies. Oh, you're doing sci-fi and you want a bad guy? Do some technology that fights humans. And you're like, okay, but everyone does that. Let's pick something new.
Mm-hmm. So I'm at time code 3752.
They're still talking.
Yeah, they're still talking. I'm unsure with the Doctor character. It looks like from the trailer for the next episode that she's going to be one of the main people on the ship with them.
Yes, did look so.
The jury is out on her. The jury is out. I I definitely didn't have. I prefer her because it seemed like the girl that's the android, half android girl on the Romulan base Borg cube. It looks like she's not going to be joining the main team till probably the last. Because I think this is like an 8-episode season, 10 episodes. Like
Is that all it is?
I don't think it's very long. I'll have to look. Hold on, but I don't think that. How many episodes? Star Trek Picard episode guide. Here we go. List. Okay. Wait, does it list episodes? Oh, it doesn't list it. Wait. It doesn't say, but it's probably somewhere. But I don't think it's many. I think it's probably under 10 though. I'd say.
Okay.
I don't want to waste too much time talking about that. But I'm guessing the girl that's the other one won't be in it very much. So
probably not. Yeah, it's gonna be probably him searching for her. For most
yeah,
of
from
this
what we
season.
saw, since getting to that cube is not going to be the easiest challenge, and that's legitimate.
Right, and getting to that cube looks like it's probably going to be obviously a big opener for more things because I'm pretty sure the Federation isn't aware that Romulans are sitting with a Borg cube. I think.
I would agree with that. I don't think anybody running around playing with the Borg cube is considered
Is sanctioned by the Federation or most people in the Alpha Quadrant. Yeah, I think so.
Or pretty much any race in the entire galaxy that knows who the Borg are. We know in Voyager that
no, don't play with that. Don't touch that crap.
we know that most races aren't even if the Borg has touched it, your civilization, most likely you see someone touching that and you go, yeah, let's not. That's not. I mean, look at the Q even. The Q, the freaking god tier level in the Star Trek. We're like, don't mess with the Borg. Yeah. The Q continuum told Q that can literally rewrite reality. Said, yeah, don't
screw with them.
Don't F with them because it's bad. It causes things we don't want to fix, and they kind of just ignore it. But I think they could fix it, but they're still like, let's not do that.
Yeah.
So
which I mean is obviously then like the worst part of why then Q obviously for all of TNG his first thing to do is let's send the Enterprise over to the Borg.
Well, that was after though. Well, he got in trouble after that because he was like, oh yeah, don't do that stuff. But anyway, so I feel like,
because he started the Borg and realizing about the Alpha Quadrant pretty much started a whole new campaign.
Right. So you have that element. So but I guess we meant the main point that was I diverted us. Sorry. Is the element of if she's the main companion with Picard. Like I said, I'm not sure yet. Jury's out, but she might be okay. From the trailer, if you saw the end trailer, it looks like we're getting, this show's gonna be hard to judge right now for the first episode. The reason is because I feel like they could be pulling a Discovery on us, which is the first episode Discovery had nothing to do with the rest of the show. So I'm concerned that this could be the same treatment here where they're like, hey, there's this thing with these characters. And they're like, oh yeah, she's dead. And here's all the new ones. There's a brand new cast. And now we don't put any effort into the production budget. And now we're not even trying it at all. And they put all their effort and money into this first episode. We'll know here pretty soon.
Yeah.
But that's my first, I know that's my cynical thought, but that is my first thought with it. But she does seem like she might mellow in because after she got done with her moment,
she's a little bit more, yeah.
She did seem to settle down. So, and again, that's directing and actor choices. So we'll see. I don't know if there's different directors for every episode, like some shows or not. So we'll see where that goes.
I just realized, and I think it's leading up to where we were just about to get to, getting done with our conversation finally. I actually just realized now watching it, the nebula when the Romulan ship pops out, it looks just like her necklace.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't realize it until I was just watching it again right there, and I went, I didn't even see that the first time.
Yeah, I'd call that more of I doubt that was like we'll call that a.
Oh, I doubt that has any meaning.
Editing transitional choice.
Right.
If it turns into something with meaning, that'd be.
As someone in Spaceballs once said, nice dissolve.
Right, pretty much. If that turns out to some meaning that they're like, find the galaxy of the two. No, find the nebula of the two circles, and you will
it's
be
called
home.
the Infinity Nebula.
Yeah,
of course it is.
If that is what it ends up being, I'd be like, oh, okay. I mean, that's cute. I wouldn't hate that. I'd be like, oh, okay. If he was there when he had made the design, he was like, there's this really cool nebula out there, and that's why I designed the necklace off that. Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure if that's actually the nebula there in the sense of like we'll ever see that shape again, or if it was strictly because the graphic designer guy was like, cool
I can do this and make it
transition.
look cool.
Here
Yeah.
we go. You know, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then the whole scene on the Borg thing was weird. I know that
Mister is the Romulan guy walking supposed to be a threat?
Yes,
Or is he
it looked-
help? Because it's like
well-
because the way he walked off was like, I'm
He
the
appears-
big baddie, but I'm also like, you look like a child.
he appears to be a threat because in the trailer, next one, he appears to be a threat, and I'm unsure why she was so instantly attracted to him. And I know they're hooking up after the next trailer shows that they're already hooking up, so I'm unsure on what was his instant attraction to her. Maybe she just found a guy talk to her or something, and he was like witty, kind of self-deprecatingly witty.
Or there's some more connection there that we don't know about yet.
Or she's just really lonely. I don't know. So
well, because I definitely did seem like her clone, the one that we see on the Borg cube, is a way different personality than obviously her Earth one. It seemed like.
Yeah, well, she's definitely more cognizant because the other one never said she had a sister. This one said, "Oh, I'm mother and sister," so she's aware of that part of it. So it seems like she's more aware, and she's on a Romulan thing. We don't see her ears, which is interesting. They do hide her ears.
Yeah, that's actually a good
So
point.
we don't know if she has Romulan ears or not. So that's interesting. The actor playing the guy I have up right now is 4607. I can't. My jury's out on him too. Like I said, he comes off as kind of like creepy dude at a bar. So that's why I was surprised her reaction was all,
Like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, it's good to see you again.
yeah, that kind of like she steps into him even. She's like, tell me more. That was
Well,
like,
again, you're watching that scene there where she's like, they're talking to each other and she's got that kind of pushed up chest with her hands behind her back. So it's kind of that like, I mean, it's body language and you can see what it means.
So I mean, it was
when
pretty
a girl's kind of has
aggressive.
her chest puffed out, like not in like, a verbose way, but she is a little bit more pushed down, her hands behind her back, kind of that like, I'm listening and kind of dotingly listening.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of interesting.
I mean, the reveal of the cube looked good. The visual effect looked good. We don't know where this is in the galaxy. We don't know how they got a hold of a cube. Is this tied into a Janeway thing? Is this, Janeway's influence of it? I'm going to frame 4317. So we don't know if the cube is a derelict cube or if they're actually Borg on it. If it was, I think there was a resistance thing happening in Voyager with some people abandoning cubes, the Borg. So the Borg part can go a lot of ways. It just depends which threads they choose to use and not use, really.
Right.
I think it's too bad that if they're going to use memories and kind of tie into like some kind of Android thing. The explanation of that they pulled Data's memory from one single engram reproduced is stupid because he's Data. That's mumbo jumbo. They would have just better going, yeah, maybe there was a backup file on something and they blah 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 blah, and they used.
Remember that time he had that emotion chip? Well, that emotion chip actually backed up all of his other stuff, so we got it.
Yeah, we had some level of that.
Thanks, I take that. I
know-
take that over. Yeah, one positron. We're able to rebuild everything. It's like I think they're trying to go for the whole sense of like with one DNA, with one cell of DNA, I can recreate a whole human. And you're like,
and that made me think.
cute,
That made me think.
but
of,
that's not.
What's the video game? Genetic memory.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Assassin's Creed is the whole, genetic memory through your cells. I feel like they thought that would be cool with Data. I feel like they mixed those two. They're like, oh, one computer DNA cell equals all the memory of Data, and you're like,
Well, and
you
in
guys
that being
just
the
created
case, you're telling me from that you can make all his memory, but you can't recreate him altogether.
yeah. For some reason, they
Like
don't
if
want
you're
to
telling me from that one thing you can recreate his memory, it's like I feel like then you're kind of talking about like the building blocks to be able to create him again. Then right? It's like they wanted to go deep, but then they didn't really think about how many questions that makes you ask afterward and go, maybe not your best choice.
Yeah, I'm unsure. I'll be true, honest. I said I'm unsure on the choice of why they did what they did with that part of it. It's one of those ones of mumbo jumbo. They're like, we want this to be related to him legitimately. Well, he doesn't have sperm, so
Memories.
we'll pull some of his memory. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's one of those ones where we'll see where it goes. If it's
Because they're trying to say that then those memories are then within Daj. Is that her name? Daj?
something like that. Doesn't matter. She's dead now.
But are they
Dash,
saying that
dash,
those memories
dash.
were in her?
Yeah, like they kind of declarified it, where they're like, well, the essence of data. I'd be more willing to accept an essence level, I guess, but even that's cringy.
Right.
It's not
No,
like
next episode, you're gonna when they go back to the Borg cube, she's gonna be humming Blue Sky. You just wait.
Yeah. It all comes down to that specifically. That it comes down to how they use these little things later on.
Yes.
Like I said, this episode had a lot of exposition. So how it all comes together will be how they use those pieces now. We have the pieces. I would say we have, if this was a chess game, right now, the opposing force has put out their queen, which is the Borg cube. And we have possibly a bishop out there, which is the clone girl. And then our side has our king, and that's about it.
Yeah.
We don't have our power player yet. We don't have, and maybe we have maybe our personal bishop over here with the doctor girl. She might be the counterbalance to that character. Again, I'm using the kind of chess parallel. But I don't really know where that goes. Like I said, it seems like they wanted the Federation out of this story, it seems like.
Yes, it does.
The crew looks like it's to be a private crew, so they don't really want to deal with the Federation aspect of it, which, again, we'll see where it goes. We talked about this in our Prairies part.
Seems less Star Trek and more Firefly at that point, but okay.
Very true. Very true. And so we'll see where that part goes. Again, I'd say my wrap-up.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst. I thought it was going to be worse. It's definitely better than Discovery was, because the Discovery stuff was just grown, makes me groan. And
I haven't even seen the first episode of Discovery to even go
and everything
off
I know
on
this,
it, but
and this stuff could make you groan too later on. We'll see where it goes. I mean, you hear those things, you're like, oh, and everything here. Like I said, there's some bad choices. And like I said, I think the biggest bad choice was, well, okay, how I should say it is, the bad choices are the ones they glossed over and then make you go, wait, what? So there was an invading army of Datas, and they destroyed a planet. Oh yeah, they destroyed another planet, by the way. They said they love destroying planets. That's 3. The bad robot crew loves destroying planets, man. They're like, let's destroy another one because, well, it adds tension to the stakes. No, it doesn't. Destroying planets. It doesn't. Destroying planets does not add tension. Stop it. No more destroying planets. It's stupid. Because you can't. No one does repercussions well enough, right? The problem with it is the repercussions don't matter. Even Star Wars, in the first movie, the original trilogy, when they destroyed the planet, what happened? Nothing. Because the point of that is gone. I mean, the point of that was to demonstrate something. It was make a point. But in the Star Trek, destroying planets does not work. Destroying Vulcan was a stupid choice. Destroying Romulus and allowing it to continue is stupid. You're telling me in 200 years or 100 years they didn't come up with a solution of like, we know that it can wipe out a star, so let's fix a star, right? Like I find it hard to believe that with all the resources of the Romulan Star Empire and the Federation and the Klingons that they weren't like, okay, we'll help you guys out, No,
I agree. I would agree.
So that would probably be where they said the politics part. I said it was just whatever. So
like I said, I don't think it was it wasn't as pushy as it was. Like I said, I'm seeing more from the fans trying to make it pushy, and I'm like, I didn't see that in the episode. I don't know what you're trying to fight one way or the other as much.
Like I said, for me, we'll see where it goes. Like right now, I'd say this.
Like you said, by all means, they might just be kind of going, Starfleet's just kind of in the background.
Yeah, and so
it's not even a thing.
So like on an A to B rating, like a letter rating, I'd probably give this episode a B. And then depending where it goes, maybe B minus. Definitely not the worst thing. I mean, there's definitely way worse episodes of Star Trek that I've seen. I could watch this one again and wouldn't hate it. There's things like Doctor Who that I'm like, I can't watch an episode of it type thing. So this one would not fall into that space of like unwatchable. If you're a Star Trek fan, I would say check it out. Tentatively, if you're concerned, wait and see what happens over the next couple episodes, because I don't know where it's going. The story is going. I don't really know. So we just know there's, right now, I guess I would say, what's the plot happening? And right now the plot is Data has a daughter who's on a Romulan Borg base. And now Picard wants to save her. And someone out there is trying to kill her. We don't know who it is because technically it could be Tal Shiar. But she is on a Romulan, seems like a Romulan base. I don't think those are Vulcans. I think everything visually no, it was definitely, I take that back. It was Romulan because it had the Romulan logo on the Borg cube. So are there two factions of Romulans?
Right. Is there like more of like a warring faction now that's kind of come out of the loss of...
The Romulans are always hard to track in Star Trek because they're kind of the crafty spy type. They're very intriguey. I think I always thought they were based off of Cold War Russians. The whole like spy game, spy versus spy type feel.
I'd say aesthetically they're based off of obviously Rome.
Yes.
And Romans. But yes, I would say in the sense of like,
and
especially
like
for the TOS.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the original episode of TOS where you finally run into it, I mean, it's a submarine battle in space.
Yeah. So that's
and it's a beautiful, but it's a great, but yeah, it's the first time you kind of see them. It's that Cold War, like, we're not supposed to know where they are. They don't know where we are. We're not really supposed to attack, but if they're going to attack us, then we're going to blow you up.
Right. So I think that's where we'll see where it goes, right? Like I said, we have some pieces on the board. The board hasn't been covered in acidic Romulan blood to eat it dry yet. So we'll see over the next couple episodes. Like I said, it's a short run. You know, we'll know where this goes in a couple weeks if it's watchable. I mean, it's a pilot episode, which means that it will live or die quickly.
Yes.
You know, you're gonna know by the next. You know that what's that 3-episode rule? You'll know pretty quickly in 3 episodes where this story is going and if it's going anywhere. And when we see this new crew they're adding on to the ship that Picard's going to be with here in the next episode or two, that's definitely going to set the tone of the show. We're going to know like, oh, these guys are fun. Oh, these guys suck. I'm hoping that they're not a bunch of nihilistic, unpleasant a-holes.
Yeah. But I also hope they're not like, young and rowdy people like Stargate Universe.
Oh yeah. No, I'm hoping there's something like Star SG-1 crew, main crew, something of that nature, where they're like, oh, a likable level of something that's kind of fun, and maybe puts Picard in awkward space. Being in this group, this new little group. I also saw in the trailer preview that they have Deanna Troi and
Will Riker.
Will Riker coming back.
7-9.
I'm hoping if there's one character that I'm hoping isn't just a generic cameo, would be her.
Me too, because if you're doing anything Borg-wise, at least having her there would be another person, and especially too, I think you could do a lot of interesting character dynamic between her and then Jean-Luc.
Yeah, no, I like that. Two
people who have become Borg at some certain point, you know.
Right? No, I totally agree. I think that's that'd be my hope, that she's more than just a generic cameo. They're like, we threw in a 7 of 9 cameo to make all the guys happy.
It kind of making it seem from the trailer for the next one, and then you can let your final thoughts on it if you want. But like that trailer, even like the first words that you're seeing 709 say is, "What the hell are you doing, Picard?" And it's like, okay, well that's kind of a connection and a familiarity there that obviously you've never ever seen between those two ever.
Right.
I mean, so it's like, have they become kind of a friends? Has there already been in a relationship grown there again from a person who used to be a Borg to another guy who was Locutus of Borg? I mean, it's like, there obviously can be a lot there. My only fear would be that if there is something there, they're not going to go into it deep. They're already going to be like, oh, it's already established. And you're like, okay, but maybe could you give me a little? But I hope she is not a cameo. I really do hope that Jerry Ryan, 7 of 9, as a character, is not going to be a cameo character, because I think that would be a strong way to have for this show, if anything. If you're doing Borg, Picard and 7 of 9 together is an interesting thing that you can do a lot with in the character space, development space, and the sentient space. Kind of like we're talking about people trying to find sentience. You can still always have that little moment. But now seeing that 7 has kind of become more human, obviously. Clearly, she should be. After 30 years, it's like she should have been able to pick up her humanity a lot more again. Yeah,
and she was doing pretty good. I mean, by the end of the show, we knew she was pretty good.
I mean, she was falling in love with Chakotay. Like she was having a functioning relationship by the end of Voyager.
Yeah, functioning. Yeah. Poor Harry Kim.
Kim, all he gets is women who want to kill him afterward. They're like, yeah, come with us, love us, but then you die afterward once you get the stuff.
Hey, he could have. She was like, "Come on, man, my bed's open," and he was like, "No, I need to be in a relationship." I'm like, good man, Harry.
Like,
Kim.
Harry.
You're a good man, Harry Kim. You deserve better.
Maybe you should have gone to bed. Maybe you would have been more of an ensign. Like,
right, magically happens. So, overall, I said it. My wrap up would be, see where this goes. Like, again, like I said, it's not.
I would have to agree with you.
No hate, but no love either. It falls into some questionable choices. It's where these, again, it's the typical bad robot thing of mystery boxes. We have a couple mysteries. Let the ladles out, and we'll start seeing where those mysteries go, and if those mysteries have any value, or if the mysteries are just like, mystery because reasons.
Mystery for mystery's sake will be a killer to the show.
Yeah,
give us a reason,
especially for just a short run. Explain some stuff, and not in clunky exposition, please. I get it. You're gonna have to do some exposition because that's kind of parts of things, but can we just not make it the defining half of the screen time? I will say this episode went by pretty fast for me. So that's a good sign. That's what I'm saying. Like I'd say it was a solid. I'd probably go towards a B. Where the elements go will up and raise it, and definitely Picard, Patrick Stewart, is the reason the episode is watchable too, though.
Agreed. If there would have been any, the episode really wouldn't have been enjoyable without the caliber of then his emotions and acting.
Oh yeah, his screen time was paramount. Yes. To this episode's success. So hopefully, hopefully our one prediction that I know, which was that he will be in it less, will be wrong, and hopefully that he wasn't only in the first episode the most, and then gets sidelined throughout the other episodes.
And if that's true, then I was right because I said that he would stay there. So just making sure that was being pointed out.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
I want to make sure I get my rights on my nostalgia stuff that I said there wasn't going to be too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think that. So that was my two biggest ones. So
no, it's fair. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, it's one of those ones where I kind of come out of it going, okay.
I will say it this way, in a sense, I am interested to see what the next episode will be. I'm not saying like I'm like clamoring.
Yeah, I can't.
But there is a general interest to go. Okay, I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen next. But like you said, what happens next though will then determine if I go, you know what, now I'm going to go ahead and make this episode a D because now I know where it's going. Or if it's like, okay, no, that was a B and it might go somewhere. So that's where I'm truly at is I don't know what to say because you gave me a little, but you didn't give me enough to go, okay, I can see the direction of this show. I can see where I can see right now we're at the fork. It's almost like a fourfold fork in the road. It's like you can go 4 different ways. Depending on which way you go, you might do okay. Some of those other ways you're going to do horrible and you're going to end yourself.
Well, and that ties into the part of the show which will come into is it written well? As we go into farther into it, is the writing solid? Is the element solid? Do they think about the repercussions of it? Are they trying to do? There's a second season, I believe they supposedly greenlit.
They've already greenlit it.
Supposedly, that's code for marketing buzzwords saying, hey, it's been so good. There's a season 2. Watch Star Trek Picard.
Exactly. We've already brought it back for a second season, so you got to start watching. And you're like,
the fan reviews are not in yet, but the show is loved by all, and the season 2 is now announced. Go see season 1 when it comes out. Is pretty much what that is. But yeah, I think that again, it says it's one of those. We'll see where it comes, see where it goes, and that's about all I have to say. Like I said, it's one of those ones where I kind of come out of it. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I did have one more thing, and it's more of a general thing. I think the lack of quality with so many shows and movies now puts a damper on excitement because now my excitement meter is relatively permanently dampened when it comes to mainstream pop culture movie stuff because I feel like they like to hype it. They like to hype it. Hype train is high. It's kind of like Destiny. You know, like an example would be like Destiny, the video game, where Destiny 2, the hype train was so high that I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna take everything from Destiny 1 and then up the ante for Destiny 2, and then you play it and you're like,
maybe not.
What happened to the game that we are promised? And so I feel like a lot of movies and TV shows do that. So I feel like so much material does that now. Mm-hmm. Sometimes accidentally. Sometimes the fans hype it more, and then sometimes it is definitely intentionally hyped. So this one, I have no hype on it. I'm more intrigued on I grew up on Star Trek level, and like I said, I watched some of Discovery and I just couldn't watch it anymore. So I'm hoping this one for me is a watchable show that I can at least, even if it's maybe
not as Star Trek as the other stuff, if it's at least a good show that's giving me something good again, I want to see it. I want to enjoy another Star Trek show.
If it's like this is how I would look at it probably. If as long as it's like Stargate SG-1's amazing, Atlantis is solid.
Yes.
Universe is to me unwatchable, pretty much. I haven't seen it in years, so maybe it's gotten better with age type thing. Maybe it's gotten better with age. I doubt it. There's just certain flaws in it.
I feel like as it's getting older and looking at the young and rowdy kids, it's going to be worse than when we were at least younger and like, I kind of act that way.
But if this is just, a couple, like the bad season of SG-1, I'll be like, okay. I can handle the bad season of SG-1 if that's what this ends up being.
I can handle the Jonas Quinn season.
Yeah. If this ends up being like the first season of Stargate Universe, then it'll die quickly. Yes. Oh, I agree. But other than that, thank you for joining me, Christopher, on today's first premiere on-screen episode of The Talent on Screen, discussing Star Trek Picard. Thank you, everyone, for yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It does. Hopefully, we're going to grow and do more and more content here. And yeah, you got there. Oh, do you see my bird of prey up there? Can you see it?
I do see the bird of prey up there. Nice.
Bird of prey up there.
For those who can't tell, that's a nice little cutout of the original Star Trek Enterprise.
All right.
It's hard to see, but here you go.
Well, I guess now with the channel, if I start doing a lot of if the Star Trek becomes big, I'll have to tell Dad to ship me one of my Star Trek Enterprises that's like the 3-foot long models.
Do you still? So those are some of those are yours then? Okay, because Dad keeps asking me, he's like, "Do you have your NX-01 in the Enterprise?" I'm like, "Yes."
No, 2 of those are mine. I bought 2 when I found them. I'm like, I'm buying 2. I just never built them because they're huge. The disc section,
they're 3 feet long for the original TOS one. Or huge. What do you have the refit A?
Yes, they're the A. Yeah, they're the A. The A is just beautiful design.
Well, yeah.
So
it's hard to find the original one in a big model. The original.
That's why I bought them when I found them. Like, oh my goodness, it was a little old model shop in Reno, and I was like, gonna buy this thing, and I think I bought 2 or 3, and so they were I think I bought them. Oh my goodness, I know this is random story time, so if you're still here, thank you. I think I bought them in like 2006, so they're probably like almost like 15 years old. That just prime in the box still. I think I opened one of them. One's still in the plastic. I'll let Dad know don't toss those or don't sell them. Don't let.
Phillip, he will never.
Don't let Philip touch
them.
He
keeps asking me which one's which because he's not the ones to get rid of them. So
yeah, no, I'll make sure. I'll be like, ship them to me. I'll make them. Because I'll put it on the thing. I'll be like, oh yeah, now I have a 3-foot freaking Enterprise on the thing next to the bird of prey. Actually, that'd be pretty close to scale probably because the bird of prey wasn't. Yeah. Actually,
yeah, so that's probably pretty close.
Actually, I'll have to have Dan send on my way and be like, "Oh, maybe we'll do a video." It'd be hilarious. the time lapse video of that making the Enterprise A model for like 5 days. But anyway, if you're still watching, thank you for tolerating us. We like these long form discussions sometimes. Sometimes they'll be more concise for breakdowns or like season reviews. But I feel like sometimes there's so much review content out there these days that I hope that we can share some of our own insight. We try to be fair. I'm not saying other people are not fair, but we do try to be more positive-ish on things when it deserves it, and to try to analyze it at least in a fair way as much as we can. Granted, we're going to have our own biases. I'm not going to deny it and be like, oh no, I didn't walk into that episode going, oh my God, this is going to be awful. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. That wasn't awful. Granted, when your expectations are lower, they can always help too.
Makes it easier.
So we'll see where it all goes, and we'll be doing more review stuff. I know Christopher is caught up on My Hero Academia, and we'll be talking about that here. So we'll probably do a video here, maybe tomorrow if you're around. Make a discussion on I want to do a full review on some shows.
Here will be my answer to that if I'm here tomorrow, Joel. I am here.
Excellent. So thank you again, everyone, and have an excellent day.